It's your Intellect once again. So I welcome you guys for advanced level history questions that relate to Rozvi state. In this case, we are discussing questions that relate to the rise and the demise of the Rozvi state with the implications of external and internal factors. For more information, contact the number on the screen. For holiday lessons and
number 5, the question reads, account for the rise of the Rozvi state and assess the extent to which the Nguni incursions brought about the demise of the state. So question E, the question demands candidates to first evaluate issues that deals with the rise of the Rozvi state, and after that they need to evaluate the factors also which have led to the rise, to the decline or to the demise of the Rozvi state. But first and foremost, one of the most intelligent students, what he's supposed to do is to analyze kuti question iri kuenda nekupi. Handiri kuona question yedu iri kuti account for the rise of the Rozvi state and assess the extent to which the Nguni incursions brought about the demise of the state. Question yako kana yauya apa ichiti account for the rise. Good candidates, they must also take a look whereby they should have to know that the rise of Rozvi state is something that can be explained with the internal factors and external factors. We have got internal factors that have led to the rise of the Rozvi state and external factors that have led to the rise of the state. And at the same time, the demise of the Rozvi state, it is affected by external factors and internal factors. But because the question says account for the rise of the Rozvi state and assess the extent to which the Nguni incursions, just because we have mentioned Nguni incursions are mentioning groups that fled from Fekan that have affected the state. So it means that on our affirmative side, we are going to explain the account for the rise of the Rozvi state in the implication that the external factors played a greater role to the rise of the Rozvi state, and at the same time, the external factors under Nguni incursions title, they've led to the demise of the state. Are we together? So our affirmative side inenge ichibvuma kuti my external factors ndo akaita kuti state rise, and at the same time ndo futi akaita kuti state decline. Then on our non-affirmative side taakuti my internal factors ndo akakonzeresa rise yeRozvi, and at the same time my internal factors iwayo ndo ane more impact to the decline of the Rozvi state. So in the simpler terms, we are saying candidates are allowed or are expected to review the impetus of the external factors in the rise and the decline of the state, but good candidates cannot also forget the impact of internal factors in the rise and the demise of the state. Ndo panenya saka chaita kuti tuone answer iyoyo chaita kuti tione answer iyoyo kuti ndizvo mamiriro azvakaita inhau yekuti taona kuti panyorwa kunzi Nguni incursions. Nguni incursions magroups akafleda from Shaka during the time of Mfekane vakaudarika nemuRozvi state vakakonzeresa kuti Rozvi state futi ite idecline. Taurirana ndo nhau dzacho. But pa question yanachikudza inouya chiti analyze the rise of the Rozvi changamirezi in the 1680s yeah. Unonyora ma external factors nema internal factors zvazvipinde. Manzo zvandataura. Panopinda information iyi of which I'm going to denounce all that data. Ndicha explain ma points yes hapana nasi point yandikusiya, so that you understand. So in your introduction, a good introduction yanga ichifana kunyorwa ichibuditsa view yandataura. Saka mu introduction mako iwe wanga uchienda uchinoti wewe the rise of the Rozvi state was attributed more because of external factors, such as 4 of them tapa by the Portuguese submitting of the Torah and Manyika, among other factors. And with that implication, as external factors have more impact on the rise of the Rozvi state, it is also easy to say or to tell that those same external factors have led to the demise of the Rozvi state, taking consideration of the Nguni Incursion, where we explain the effect of Nyamazana, who skinned Mambo Chirisa Mura life, the effect of the Ndebele state, who conquered the state completely, among other factors. However, good candidates cannot forget the implication that despite the fact that the external factors have attributed more to the rise and the demise of the state, one can imply the effectiveness of the internal factors in the rise and the development and in the rise and the demise of the state. And you can go explain now in my own way so that you can understand better. Sanga apa, chago explain ako account for the rise, tiri apa pa 4 of them tapa. In this verdict, you say that the rise of the Rozvi state was attributed by the 4 of them tapa by the Portuguese. This implication, we explain that the Portuguese, because of the prazo system they have introduced in the Mtapa state, they've led to the demise of the state. Why? Because the Portuguese have penetrated within the Mtapa politics and they've led to the rise of puppet leaders. So as the puppet leaders, they started to conquer more, this have made the Mtapa state to lose their impetus or their power, leading to the demise of the state. As the state was about to demise, this have made Changamire Dombo to infiltrate and defeated the Portuguese. As the Portuguese were defeated, they ran away, and this gave impact to Changamire Dombo to come into power and formed another new state using the same Mtapa subject, but just because they have driven away these individuals who have affected the Portuguese, the Mtapa state, the Mtapa inhabitants, they started to submit to Changamire Dombo. Ukaverenga mabhuku akaita sana Esmauru, vana Mjenge, vanani. This is the implication iripo kuti Mtapa state yakanga ichikonzereswa decline nekuda kwemaPortuguese. Saka maPortuguese pavakaremovwa naChangamire Dombo nekuda kweinfluence yake, akabva angotora zvanga zvasara bhatanga imwe state. Taurira right. Tabva ipapo toenda pasubmitting of the Torwa and the Manyika. This is the implication that when Changamire Dombo grew his political impetus because of accumulation of cattle, because of his magician skills and whatsoever, the Torwa and the Manyika individuals or subjects, they voluntarily join Changamire Dombo. And as they voluntarily join, why joining Changamire Dombo? He had a large military force. He had raised his army about 10,000 soldiers, as according to H.V. Moyana, as according to Tindau, as according to Arasamas. They say that Changamire Dombo, because of his wealthy status, because of his impact by the end of the 15th to 16th century, he had grew an army of 10,000 soldiers. As he had this army, his army was feared by the Portuguese. So this have made the Torwa and the Manyika people to voluntarily join Changamire Dombo because he had protection and power, and they led to the rise of the Rozvi state. Then by Papo to end up an offshoot of Mtapa. Inonzi offshoot of Mtapa kurati the decline of the Mtapa state have led to the rise of Rozvi, or inonzi defeat of the Portuguese. This is the impact whereby Changamire Dombo have managed to remove the Portuguese from power in a way that Changamire Dombo managed to defeat Mukombwe and Nyauma, who were rebellious, who were puppet leaders. These were rebellious leaders. Saka iye pakamane kwanisa ku defeata vanhu ivavo, akavadefeata sei? First and foremost, handii munoziva kuti pane implication yekuti the Portuguese have infiltrated within the Mtapa politics, ndo vavakondola zvesani. Saka Changamire Dombo iye aripo achizviona, because anonzi he was one of the people vaiva mumutapa state. Saka arimo mumutapa state, chiri kuita kuti titi offshoot of Mtapa, pakadecline Mtapa state naturally, nekuda kwekuti maportuguese vanga vainfiltrata iye ndobva auya nearmy yake ndobva adzinga maportuguese noti nenyaya dzepolitics manje. In this theory kuti because they were now controlling the economic status, they were controlling nekuda kweSofala se930 trading post aya. Saka zvinodzichangamire dombo paakaona kuti no, these guys are controlling economic status yemutapo, let me drive them away ndivadefeate ndisare ndichitora trading post. Ndopaakabva awana pavo mukubata kune nyaya yacho. Ende maportuguese anonzi akabva atizira to Delagoa Bay. That is according kunana S Mujenge vana vese ndozvavanotaura kuti maportuguese vakatodrive wabva vatiza. Then they've decided to go back to the Delagoa Bay to do their trading activities. Vatiza trading post avo vanaSofala se930 vavakaisa muZambezi Valley. Nekuda kuti changamire dombo nearmy yake vanga vakonga the economic activities dzaimbova dzichiitwa nemaportuguese. So iwewe unozenge uchiexplaina muise yako kuti primarily in terms of the rise of Rozvi state, we've got external factors such as explainer what furthermore tineyakati furthermore tineyakati wasvika papoint wochiti despite the fact that external factors played an impetus in the rise of the Rozvi state, we cannot forget the impetus also of external factors with the inclusion of the Nguni invasions to the demise of Rozvi state. Wakuexplain a point and akuti munyore wakuti wewe Nyamazana, she was one of the greatest queen. They called them Nyamazana Jamin. So she moved from Nguni land, escaping from tribal wars angaitika because of Mfekan. And as she arrived within the Mtapa state, within the Rozvi state, what happened it's that Nyamazana had a relationship with the Changamire Chirisa Murowan. So as they had a relationship, zvinotombonzi vakagarisana, but because of conflicts and whatsoever, Nyamazana skinned Mambo Chirisa Muro alive because according to her thought, she thought that her subjects were going to be given good political impetus mu state zvazvokuti anindi queen auya nevanhu vake, saka aifunga kuti vanhu vake naiye vachapuwa high rank mu Rozvi state sezvo vanga vakatizwa kuvari vanhu vane power. Saka mukuru Chirisa Muro pavakaramba nepower manje zvakamurwadza kuti ko uri kundinyima power sei ini ndiri queen what ndobva vaskina Mambo Chirisa Muro alive. So as Chirisa Muro was skinned alive, after the death of Mambo Chirisa Muro, the state was left without a king, and because of chaos and succession disputes and upheavals aitika vanhu vachirwirana power, state completely yakabva yaita downfall. Andika ndo nyaya yaunoexplain. Then tobva tauya paMandebele, you explain that the Ndebele state has given an impetus to the decline of Rozvi state. Why? When the Ndebele came from Nguni land, they came and defeated the Karanga people, that is the Rozvi. As the Rozvi were defeated, they were started to be controlled andika neMandebele. And to an extent that in the Ndebele state there was what we call the caste system. And according to the caste system which was within the Ndebele, we have got the Zanzi, andika tovataita the Enkia, tovataita the Hole. And the Hole was the smallest group which was yaitodzvinyirirwa nemunhu wese. Saka zvabuditsa impact yekuti the Ndebele vakauya vakakonga vanhu mu Rozvi state vavaisa ku third class, which means now they no longer have enough power. Taurirana. Saka nekuda kuti vanga vasisina enough power, vanhu vemuchi vemu Rozvi state ravo karato decline completely. Andika then tiri papo takwenda pana Ngava as he was moving from Nguni land in the northwards achitsvaga pekuno settler, what happened, he managed to defeat the Rozvi army, and he took some of the subjects of the Rozvi akaenda navo army imwe yacho. Saka pakabva pasara pane weak and incompetent members in society, and gradually the state was declining in its impact because vanga vasisina army, vanga vasisina protection. And then touya apa pana Zwangendava. Zwangendava, he came as he was moving northwards. He also defeated the Rozvi people ndobva vatorerwa ma-resources keto, ma-grains nechinoti avaibva kunzara, and this have made the state to decline in its impetus power. Saka this is how the Nguni incursions have led to the demise of the Rozvi state. Then in your explanation, despite the fact that these Nguni incursions or external factors have led to the rise and the decline of the Rozvi state, one can also retrieve the ideology whereby the internal factors, they've played a major role per rise state. For example, we've got the military ability of Changa. Changa, he had a great military ability in the extent that he managed to train his army, he managed to rise his army up to 10,000 soldiers. And these soldiers, they managed to conquer the Portuguese and to defeat because of his abilities, leading to the rise of the Rozvi. Then Papa Rozvi title. The Rozvi title, Rozvi, it was a title which was given to Changa and his army, which means destroyers. Rozvi from the word Kuronja. So it means that they were destroying people, they were plunderers. So because these people were plunderers, they managed to be feared to an extent that the Torwa people voluntarily joined him, the Manika voluntarily joined him, and some of them, Tapa subject, voluntarily joined him because they feared that he could come and defeat them also, the Vatotanga state. Then to Vatawaya Apapakanzi Moyo Totem. The totemism, Changamire Dombo, was belonging to the Moyo Totem, and the Moyo title or the Moyo Totem by this time, it was one of the major totem yakaita mbiri neuda kwa Changamire Dombo. So certain individuals who belong to the same totem, they decided to join Changamire Dombo and for protection and for fame and for prestige. As they were doing it, the state was rising to its peak. Then to Bapapo to end up an infiltration as a headsman. No Patinoti Changamire Dombo was a headman within the Mtapa state under Mutapan. Tazota no Mtapan. Mtapa Mukombwe. He was a headman of Mukombwe. This guy, Changamire Dombo. Ari headman wa Mukombwe. Anditi munoziva ere kuti palapa unu wechishona. Muna akafudza mombe gore kumba kwenyu munompa mombe pamutemo wechishona cha muna akapedza gore achikufudzira mombe pamba penyu munompa mombe kupera kwegore. Next year akapedza futi aripo mompa mombe despite kuti muri kumpa payment pamutemo wechishona. Saka Changamire Dombo akaramba ari anda vana Mutapa Mukombwe ana Mutapa Munyauma pese papa aipuwa mombe because aizikanwa nekugona kufudza mombe, and he had also a magic yekuti aigona kutongochinja mombe kala ubva ati mimi mune mombe yakadai here mukuru adai wandina yatwa yake. Saka as he was accumulating those cattle, because cattle was a symbol of status, akabva aita ma-followers aimuteera. As he had followers, he finally found a state that is the Rozvi state at the expense of the Mtapa. Then, despite the rise of the Rozvi state due to internal factors, we have internal factors for the decline of the state. For example, politically, there was the death of Mambo Chirisa Murutu, naturally. As he died, this guy, this have left the state Risna Moon. And aitungamira aipama orders aita say state vara decline to end up anyama drought zviri pachenaka, which is the successive droughts have made people to move out of the Rozvi state looking kune dzimwe nzvimbo dzavaikwanisa kubatsirika nadzo. Toenda pamasoils obvious zviri pachena ngoti when soils were exhausted because these societies were agro-based, saka they were in lack of enough food to sustain their families. Saka zvasasaiita kuti vagare pai mustate. Uchingodaro izvi ndofunga munozviziva. Trade yavo yakadecline. Why? By the removal of the Portuguese. The Portuguese were one of the prominent individuals for trade, but by the time when Changamire Dombo paakadzinga maPortuguese, trade yakasara ichidecline, vakasara vane barter trade chete kusisina external trade. Saka zvakabva zvaita kuti state its economy decline. Why? Vanga vasasawo nema-foreign goods. Ndizvo zvatopera. Ndo ma-explainera waita meno kana pana ane mubvunzo wobvunza tofambira mberi. Ndo manyorerwa aitwa isei. Zviri simple but zvinongoda katriki chete kekuziva kuti apa ndikudai apa ndikudai apa ndikudai apa ndikudai. kana pane mubvunzo mubvunza.